They say betrayal is a slow burn, but mine arrived like a slap in the face with a velvet glove. Soft, almost elegant, but still a slap. It started at a hotel ballroom downtown, the kind that smells like old wealth and desperate ambition. My wife's company was hosting its annual gala, champagne towers, fake smiles, and too many people trying to outlaugh each other. I stood near the edge of the room in a tailored suit I hadn't worn since our wedding anniversary 3 years ago, watching her glide between conversations like she owned every corner. She didn't look at me once. Not when she passed by, not when our eyes almost met. She was magnetic that night, and not 1 ounce of that electricity was for me. The irony? I paid for all of it. The venue, the decor, the hors d'oeuvres flown in from God knows where, all covered by my silent investments over the past 5 years. While I handled mortgages and broker meetings, she built an empire with my money and handed it to people I'd never even met. The woman I once knew had been replaced by a sharper, colder version wearing red lipstick and secrets like accessories. I didn't plan to come. I was supposed to be out of town for a work trip, but something told me to skip it. No gut feeling, just a tension I couldn't shake. She hadn't asked if I'd be at the gala. She hadn't even mentioned it until 2 days before, casually, like it was some afterthought. That alone said more than words ever could. So I walked in unannounced, watched, waited. I ended up at the bar, nursing a drink I didn't even want, when I heard it. 2 men behind me, loud, drunk, and trying to outbrag each other. One of them said her name, clear as day, with the kind of laugh men use when they've won something they had no right to. He went on about the deal, how she played it perfectly, and how they'd split the profits clean, her husband still clueless. He chuckled like he was recounting a bar joke. I didn't move, didn't breathe. Then he said it again, how I never asked for a damn stake in the company, how she handled me like some background character. Pitiful and boring but useful as hell. The bartender looked at me, probably noticed the way my hand had frozen midair. But I didn't flinch. I just kept staring at the amber in my glass and let every word soak in like poison through skin. I left before anyone noticed, including her. She probably smiled for another 100 photos that night, not realizing the fuse had been lit. You might think I went home and exploded. I didn't. I didn't even confront her. Not yet. Because what she took from me, my money, my trust, my time, I'd let go. What I couldn't forgive was how proud they were of it, how loud they were about it, how public. I decided right then I wouldn't scream. I wouldn't rage. I would build my revenge with the same quiet patience I used to build her success. And when I moved, it would be surgical. The next day, I called in sick and started digging into her emails, her files, her client lists. It didn't take long. She'd grown careless, arrogant. She never expected me to look. And I was about to find something that would flip the entire game on its head. The first thing I found was an invoice. Small, unremarkable. Tucked deep in a shared cloud folder she must have forgotten I had access to, labeled something innocent like Branding Concepts Q2. It wasn't branding. It was a transfer. A series of them, actually. Tens of thousands, moving quietly between her company account and a consulting firm I'd never heard of. Weekly. Precise. Clean. But the kicker? That firm was registered under a holding company, one I traced in less than an hour, and the listed owner? The same man who'd been bragging at the bar. He wasn't just some guy she'd flirted with over cocktails. He was her partner. On paper. On payroll. And, it seemed, in her bed. I remember sitting at my desk, staring at the screen, realizing I'd never once asked to see her company's books. Never pushed for equity. I'd believed her when she called me her rock, when she said we'd win together. I was the fool who funded the circus without realizing I was the clown. But I wasn't sad. Not anymore. I was studying the battlefield. I started printing. Everything. Statements. Emails. Payment trails. Contracts. Photos of them at work trips that coincided with weekends she told me she was crashing at her sister's because of deadlines. I even found receipts for dinners she'd claimed were with clients, same restaurants, same nights, different names. She wasn't sloppy. She was arrogant. There's a difference. Sloppy people make mistakes. Arrogant people assume no one's watching. But I was. I backed everything up to a private drive and stashed copies in 3 places. My brother's house, a safety deposit box, a USB under the floorboard of my car. Call it paranoid, but I wasn't going to make one move without being bulletproof. And then 2 weeks later, I played my first card. She came home late, usual routine. Hair too perfect. Lipstick freshly reapplied. That same perfume she only wore on presentation days. She kicked her shoes off in the hallway, dropped her bag, and walked past me on the couch without even a nod. But I smiled. Hey, I said. I've been thinking. I want to get more involved with the agency. You know, since I've put so much into it. She froze. Just for a second. Not even long enough to call it panic. But I saw it, the flicker. Like a glitch behind her eyes. She turned slowly with the fakest laugh I'd heard from her yet. Babe, what are you talking about? You've always said the creative world's not your thing. I stood. Calm. Relaxed. I walked over to her, pulled something from behind a pillow, a single printed sheet. Just one of the invoices. No accusations. No names. Just the number. She looked at it. Silence. Then she laughed again, too loud this time. Jason, what is this? Where did you even get this? Her voice cracked at the end. Almost too subtle to catch. I didn't answer. I stepped closer, close enough to smell the lie on her breath. Let's not start pretending. We both know what this is. She tried to spin. That's a subcontractor. For a brand strategy package. You wouldn't understand, it's just agency structure. Then why is his holding company only linked to your personal PayPal? I asked. Her face went pale. She didn't answer. Not that night. Instead, she grabbed her bag, muttered something about me snooping and needing space, and walked out the door. But the game had changed. She thought she could lie her way through it. Thought I'd chase her. Apologize, maybe? But I wasn't chasing anymore. I was hunting. And she had no idea what I'd already done. 3 days. She didn't come home for 3 entire days. Not a call. Not a text. Not even a week lie to bridge the silence. She went completely off-grid, like I was the one who owed her an explanation. Like she'd been the one betrayed. That kind of silence is louder than any confession. It's the silence of someone who's already decided you don't matter. I didn't wait by the phone. I didn't drive past her sister's place or her mother's or any of the places she usually claimed to need space in. Instead, I used the time. Every hour of it. Her gala, the one where her partner ran his mouth, had drawn in several potential investors, some of them people I had previously helped connect through my real estate contacts. I reached out to 3 of them. Polite. Curious. Asking how the deal she promised them was going. All 3 replied within the hour. None of them had heard from her since the event. One of them had wired a deposit 2 weeks ago and hadn't received a single update. So I sent them my files. Not all of them. Just enough. The tone of the replies changed immediately. One called me. Another said he was contacting legal. They thanked me. One asked if I wanted to be a part of the next steps should anything become available. I said no. I wasn't here to fix her mess. I was here to make sure it swallowed her. By the 4th day, she came home. Not quietly. She slammed the door like it was a weapon, dropped her bag so hard it bounced, and stood there like she was waiting for applause. You violated my privacy, she said. No hello. No apology. I looked at her and didn't blink. You stole from me. She scoffed. Is that what this is about? Money? After everything I've built, you're mad about some invoices. I stood. Calmly. Deliberate. I walked past her and placed a thick folder on the dining table. She didn't move. These aren't invoices. They're confessions. Yours. Her eyes didn't move from the folder. Her arms crossed. Defense mode. You dug into my business without my permission, she said. You could have just talked to me like an adult. But no, you sneak around like some jealous ex. You're pathetic. I didn't flinch. You're not my wife. You're a hostile business partner who used me like an ATM. You want to be treated like a CEO? Then face the consequences. She laughed, dry and sharp. You think anyone's going to believe you over me? You're not even on the books. You're a ghost in my company. You gave me money and walked away, that's on you. She turned to leave. Investors are pulling out, I said. She stopped mid-step. I saw it, her fingers twitched like she'd touched a live wire. She spun around. What did you say? I told them the truth. Just enough. The lies. The embezzlement. The partner they didn't know about. The fake accounts. They're reevaluating. You're bluffing, she hissed. Am I? I opened my laptop and showed her the emails. The calls. The statements. Her face drained of color. She lunged at me then, not physically, but with every word she had left. Accused me of sabotage. Of trying to ruin her. Of being a bitter little man who couldn't handle a powerful woman. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. Instead, I told her something that finally shattered the mask. Your partner? He's being audited. That holding company? Already flagged for suspicious movement. I send it anonymously. Let's see how long he lasts before he drags you down with him. Her mouth opened, but no sound came. Then she stormed out again, this time not in righteous fury, but raw, shaking panic. She didn't slam the door. She didn't look back. She finally understood the game was real. And she was already losing. She didn't return the next day. Or the next. But this time it wasn't silence. It was chaos. Emails started pouring in, not to me, to her. I had access. I'd had it for months. Back when she first needed help with setting up the agency's G Suite, I created the admin profile under my name. She never asked me to change it. She probably forgot, or assumed I wouldn't know what to do with it. That assumption was her final gift to me. I watched her unravel in real time. One investor emailed to say they were freezing funds. Another one, a big one, threatened legal action if certain guarantees weren't returned. Her assistant, some poor girl named Kendra who I'd only met once at a launch party, wrote a panicked message asking why people were pulling out and whether the rumors about misused capital were true. Her tone was frantic, nervous. And then there was him, her consultant, the one from the gala, the one who'd laughed about me with his whiskey breath and second-hand charm. His message was short, one sentence. What did you do? That was the moment I knew the ground was officially gone beneath her feet. I sat there, reading through every message while she was God knows where, trying to patch holes in a ship I'd already set on fire. I didn't feel relief. Not yet. I felt precision, cold focus, like a surgeon holding the knife just above the incision. She called me 2 nights later. Blocked number. I answered without speaking. Jason. Her voice was smaller. Not broken, not yet, but stripped of its performance. The edge was gone. I need to talk to you. I said nothing. She continued. I made mistakes. Okay. I let it get messy. But this, what you're doing, it's overkill. I still didn't speak. You're ruining everything we built, she added, her voice cracking, like she thought invoking we would summon some ancient loyalty. We can fix this. You don't have to go nuclear. Finally, I spoke. You split the profits behind my back and called it strategy. This is me being merciful. Her pause told me she hadn't expected that. She thought she still had some sway left. That maybe, just maybe, I'd wobble. That some piece of the man who once sold a condo to buy her first office space was still reachable. But I wasn't reaching. I was burning the bridge with gasoline she handed me. You want it to stop? I said. Start talking. Her tone flipped in a second. From wounded to vicious. You think you're the only one who can play dirty? I'll bury you if I have to. I smiled. Because finally there she was. No performance. No mask. You can try, I said. But here's what's going to happen. Tomorrow morning, your board will receive a full summary of where their money actually went. Not the fluff. The real ledgers. Including the bonuses you funneled into his company for strategy development. You know, the ones signed under your name. You wouldn't. I already did. Silence. Then, a faint, shaky breath. I leaned in. And if you make one more threat, I'll release the internal emails to every single one of your clients. Let them see how you call them idiots behind their backs. I've got screenshots. Her voice, when it returned, was barely a whisper. Why are you doing this? Because you made me your foundation and then laughed while tearing the house down. But I didn't say that. Instead, I told her the truth because you looked me in the eyes, took everything, and never thought I'd look back. Then I hung up and started preparing the final move. It started at 8:03 a.m. A single email BCC'd to her entire board, the 3 major investors, and the firm that managed their PR. Attached were 17 files. Labeled, time-stamped, cross-referenced. A summary sheet on top, clean, professional, brutal. Her name appeared in every single line item of misallocated funds. By 8:46 a.m., one of the board members replied, 3 words, we need clarification. By 9:12 a.m., her assistant quit. By 9:40 a.m., her social media manager posted and then quickly deleted a cryptic tweet, loyalty only goes so far before it becomes stupidity. And by 10:05 a.m., I got the message I'd been waiting for. It was from the investor I hadn't contacted, the one I knew she still thought she had in her pocket. A quiet, powerful name with an ironclad reputation. His message was short, clinical, thanks for the transparency. We're withdrawing all pending commitments and will review legal options regarding misrepresentation. Any further documentation is appreciated. It was over. She called me at 11:14 a.m. I didn't answer. She messaged at 11:17. Then again. And again. The first few were furious, fire and smoke, still trying to hold on to the illusion that she was in control. Threats, insults, accusations, even the classic "you'll regret this" routine. But by message 6, her tone changed. Please. You don't understand what this is doing. You don't know what they'll do to me. Message 7 came 10 minutes later. He's cutting me off. Says I set him up. Then she stopped messaging entirely. Silence, the honest kind. Not the kind you weaponize. The kind that seeps in when you realize the game isn't just lost. The board's been burned, and the crowd's gone home. At 2 p.m., a courier arrived at my office. Plain envelope. No return address. Inside was a handwritten letter from her. She never wrote letters. She'd once told me handwriting was for people who don't know how to articulate in real time. Her words sharp as ever. The letter didn't apologize. It was a spiral, guilt disguised as confession. She blamed the pressure, the expectations, how I made it too easy to take from me, how I never asked for anything in return, how he made her feel seen, like she was finally more than just someone's project. Then came the last line. You didn't just destroy the company. You destroyed me. I folded the letter in half, then again, until it was nothing but a crumpled thought and dropped it into the trash without a sound. She was wrong. I didn't destroy her. She handed me the match. I just stopped holding back. By the time she came back to the house, it was already emptied of her. Not physically. Her clothes were still in the closet. Makeup scattered across the vanity like she'd just stepped out for a meeting. Her shoes still lined the hallway. The ones she used to joke were worth more than our car. No, I didn't touch any of that. I wanted her to see it. Wanted her to walk through that door and realize how much of her was still technically there, but how little of her presence remained. The locks were changed. Cameras installed. Utilities rerouted under my name only. Her office keycard? Deactivated. Access to joint accounts? Disabled. The company vehicle I bought her? Repossessed in broad daylight 2 days ago. Not because I needed it, because I wanted her to watch it get towed with a silent crew and a clipboard. She texted me that morning. No threats this time. No manipulations. Just, can we talk? I don't have anywhere else to go. So I waited. I sat in the kitchen reading through final reports I'd compiled for the IRS tip line. I wasn't rushing anything. I wanted it all done right. No mistakes. I was preparing the final closure, the kind that came not with vengeance, but peace. The peace that comes from precision, from truth, from giving someone every opportunity to come clean and watching them spit on it. The front door rattled at 4:36 p.m. She didn't knock. She tried the handle like she still owned something. When it didn't open, she paused, then knocked 3 times, not soft, not hard. Hesitant. Controlled. I opened the door but didn't step aside. She looked like she hadn't slept. Hair pulled back too tight, mascara from yesterday, eyes scanning everything except my face. She looked past me, into the house, like it might still welcome her out of habit. Jason, she whispered, her voice brittle, but trying to be steady. Please, just let me explain. You already did, I said. In your budget reports. She flinched, like I'd struck her, but she swallowed it. She tried to smile, that slow, rehearsed one she used when closing deals. I made a mistake, she said. I trusted the wrong people. I got overwhelmed. I was never trained for this scale. It got away from me. I raised an eyebrow. So the private transfers to his shell company, was that part of the overwhelm too? Her eyes narrowed. You don't understand how it works in this world. No. I cut her off. You don't understand how loyalty works in any world. She stepped forward, but I didn't move. The space between us felt cavernous. She used to fill rooms. Now she looked like someone trying to wear her old skin, and it didn't fit anymore. I know I hurt you, she said quietly. I know I lied, but everything's falling apart now. I've lost everything. He blocked me. My team turned on me. They're coming after me legally. I don't even know where to start. Good. She blinked. What? I told you what would happen, I said. I gave you a chance to come clean. You laughed. You chose the game. Now live with the scoreboard. And then, for the first time since this all started, her mask truly cracked. Not rage. Not defiance. Just fear. Jason. I have nothing. I can't afford rent. I can't even stay at my sister's. She's scared she'll get dragged into this. You won't be staying here. She looked stunned, like the concept hadn't occurred to her until I said it aloud. This house is mine, I said. Always has been. It was my name on the deed. You never asked. You assumed. Like everything else. I didn't think you'd turn on me like this, she said quietly. No, I replied. You thought I'd be the same man who paid your bills and ignored the red flags because I loved you. That man is gone. You buried him, right next to the contracts you forged. She stared at me, and for a moment, I thought she might say something human, something honest. But instead, she said the only thing she had left. I'll fight you for it. I nodded once. Then bring your best lawyer. I already hired yours. She went pale, stepped back. Her mouth opened, then closed. I shut the door gently. No slams. No dramatic exits. Just a final, quiet lock turning behind her. 2 weeks passed. She didn't come back to the house. Not physically. But she started reappearing in other ways, quieter, more strategic. Like a wolf changing its gait when the first bullet misses. The first time was through a mutual friend. Someone she barely spoke to before all this. Suddenly, he calls me out of nowhere, all warm and casual, asking how I'm doing. I know the type. He doesn't care about me, he's fishing. I ran into her last night, he says. And man, she's not doing great. I stay silent. She said she's sorry. He continues, tone soft, rehearsed. Said you were the only real thing in her life. Maybe she's learned something. I thanked him and ended the call without a word more. I blocked his number 5 minutes later. Then came her mother. She called me from an unfamiliar number, spoke in that half-sweet, half-wounded voice mothers use when they're trying to clean up their daughter's mess without acknowledging it. She's still my daughter, she said. And I know she did wrong, but she's suffering. You've made your point. I asked her if her daughter had told her about the financial part, about the fraud, the theft, the betrayal on a level most people never recover from. There was a long pause. Then she said it was just a misunderstanding. She didn't steal. She just didn't handle things right. I hung up. I didn't bother explaining. Because the real punchline? While she was busy playing victim, I was already steps ahead, writing her out of every last thing we shared. The house? Transferred into a trust under my name, legally fortified. Untouchable. The joint accounts? Already frozen. I had the records and the fraud alerts were filed. She'd have to explain every transaction under scrutiny, including the ones marked vendor meals that were actually champagne tabs at rooftop hotels. The brand she built, or rather that I built and she claimed, was publicly falling apart. Her clients had started issuing formal statements distancing themselves from her due to unresolved internal matters. Her name had become digital poison. She tried, of course. Sent a lawyer to challenge my financial disclosures. He showed up smug with a folder of vague accusations. I handed him a flash drive with timestamps, email headers, and a full paper trail of her backdoor dealings. He called me 3 days later. Quiet voice. She never told me about this, he said. I can't represent her. Then came the most pathetic attempt. A letter. Handwritten again. But this time not angry. Not even defensive. It started like this: "You were right. About all of it." She tried to frame it as a confession. She admitted to cutting corners, to listening to the wrong people, to being so focused on building something big that I forgot who I was building it with. Her words dripped with calculated remorse. It wasn't a confession, it was a pitch. Then came the line I'll never forget: "I don't care about the company. Or the money. I just want to come home." That was the final proof, really. Not because she lied, though she had, obviously. But because she still didn't understand. This wasn't about coming home. This was about her finally realizing there's no home left to come back to. I didn't reply. I never would. I took the letter, filed it with the rest of the evidence, and called my lawyer. Told him we were moving forward with final asset protection, reputation preservation, and, if necessary, litigation. She thought I was her safety net. She didn't realize I was the storm she'd ignored for too long. 2 weeks after the letter, she showed up in person. Not at my house, she already knew that was off limits. She showed up at my office. Unannounced. Uninvited. The receptionist looked rattled when she buzzed me. "There's someone here. Says she won't leave unless she sees you." I asked if she was making a scene. "No. She's just standing there. But people are staring." I walked out of my office and saw her sitting on the edge of the waiting area couch, legs crossed, posture perfect, rehearsed. Like nothing had happened. Like she was just there to grab lunch. She stood the moment she saw me. No smile. No fake warmth. Just that quiet, desperate dignity people put on when they're trying to hide how much they've fallen. "5 minutes," she said. I said nothing. She continued, "I'm not here to beg. I just need to clear some things up." I gave her the courtesy of 5 minutes. Not because I owed it to her, I didn't, but because I wanted to see what kind of story she'd try to spin now that everything had collapsed. We walked into the conference room. She sat across from me like a job interview. She started with flattery. Said I looked stronger than before. Said she admired how well I held up. I let her talk. I watched the way her fingers trembled. The way her eyes flicked toward the floor when she lied. Then came the pitch. "I want to make things right," she said. "I'm willing to give up the rest of the company. Whatever's left. I'll sign it over. I'll walk away from it. I just need help cleaning this up. Just help me fix the legal side. The tax stuff. I can't do this alone." That's when it hit me: she wasn't here to make peace. She was trying to offer me the carcass of what she destroyed in exchange for pulling her out of the quicksand. "You want me to clean up your crimes," I said flatly. She winced. "They're not crimes." "Not exactly. They're just mistakes. Mismanaged accounts. If someone like you took it over." No, that stopped her. I stood, slowly, deliberately, and leaned forward over the table. "You want me to step in and save you from the consequences of what you did, what you chose, and in return, I get the scraps of something I already built?" She said nothing. "I was never your partner," I continued. "I was your funding. Your excuse. Your safety net. You stepped on me every time you wanted to reach higher. And now that the fall snapped your ankle, you're crawling back hoping I'll carry you." "I'm asking for help," she said. "Not forgiveness." "No. You're asking for a bailout." Her face cracked then. The cool exterior broke. She dropped the mask. Her mouth opened, but the words didn't come. I leaned closer. "You're going to go through this. Every filing. Every audit. Every phone call from your lawyer. You're going to lose your car, your apartment, your fake friends. You're going to hear your name spoken with embarrassment instead of admiration. And I want you to remember one thing through all of it." I paused. "You picked this." She stood then, chest rising like she was about to scream. But she didn't. She just grabbed her purse, turned, and walked out slower than usual, as if expecting me to call her back. I didn't. 10 minutes later, I received a message from her lawyer. She was withdrawing all claims to shared property. Surrendering her name from the agency's remaining legal documents. No contest, no negotiations. Just exit. But that wasn't the end. Because she couldn't disappear quietly. She still had one more stunt left. The headlines didn't mention my name, not directly. But I saw it. It started with a blog post on some mid-tier business gossip site. One of those anonymous tipster exposés about a female entrepreneur wronged by the man who built her cage. The kind of piece that reads like journalism but smells like desperation. I knew her fingerprints were all over it before I finished the second paragraph. They called her a rising star, crushed by her husband's vindictive smear campaign. Said she'd been manipulated financially, that her business was stolen from her under false pretenses. There was even a sentence about how emotional abuse can be silent, economic, and invisible from the outside. No details, no names. But I knew the playbook. She couldn't save the company. She couldn't fix her name. So now she was going to try and rewrite the story as the victim. Problem was, the article didn't land the way she wanted. I'd already made my moves. Every investor who mattered had the documents. The IRS had the audits. The lawsuits she was facing weren't about broken hearts or bruised egos, they were about missing money and forged contracts. This wasn't a romantic tragedy. It was corporate fraud dressed in vintage Dior. Still, she tried. The blog post was shared, then reposted. A few influencers picked it up, not because they cared, but because drama brings clicks. A few of our mutual acquaintances started reaching out, cautiously testing the waters. One of them even had the audacity to say, "Man, I didn't know things were that toxic between you two." That's when I knew I couldn't stay silent anymore. I didn't go public. I didn't issue a statement. That's what she wanted, a spectacle. A stage. Instead, I sent one email to the author of that article. Attached were 12 PDFs, contracts, timestamped messages, screenshots of transfers, a breakdown of expenditures using my personal funds with zero returns or acknowledgement. No commentary, no embellishment, just the truth. Then I added one line, "Since you're interested in the story, I thought you might like the actual one." I never heard back, but the article was pulled down 3 days later. No correction, no explanation, just gone. She tried again a week later. A soft podcast interview, a weepy, careful tone. Talking about rebuilding after betrayal and the strength it takes to forgive people who tried to destroy you. Still no names. Still calculated. This time I didn't respond. Because I didn't need to. Behind the scenes, her foundation was crumbling. She was now under investigation by 2 agencies. Former clients were filing breach of contract complaints. Her partner, the one who bragged at the gala, had fled to another country, scrubbing his LinkedIn and deactivating every account tied to the business. They weren't just out of business, they were radioactive. The best part? I never raised my voice. I never dragged her through the mud publicly. I just waited while she ran her mouth and let the truth do the drowning. Because when you build your success on someone else's back, it doesn't matter how loud you shout your version. Eventually, gravity wins. You'd think the end of it would feel like some grand victory, champagne, closure, catharsis. But real endings don't come with a bow. They come quietly, like the way an engine dies after the gas runs out. Not with a bang, just stillness. I didn't celebrate. I rebuilt. Piece by piece. I sold the house. Not because I couldn't keep it, I could've. But it had her fingerprints in every wall. Every corner of it whispered things I didn't want to remember. So I signed the papers, handed the keys to a newlywed couple who looked like they still believed in forever, and walked away without looking back. I moved into a loft across town. Smaller, sharper, easier to breathe in. I reopened a consultancy firm, under my name this time. Mine alone. Clean books. Clean slate. I took on clients carefully. Chose people who didn't wear masks. Who understood value, didn't always scream across a room in heels and red lips. And the most surprising part? I was happy. Not every day. Not all at once. But happiness showed up in strange places. Like a quiet Sunday morning with a cup of black coffee and no guilt. Like waking up without wondering who someone was texting in the bathroom. Like realizing I didn't flinch when I saw her name on an envelope once. Then tossed it into the shredder. As for her, last I heard, she tried to start something new. A rebrand. They called it. Different name, new image, same habits. But the internet doesn't forget. The people who once clapped for her now walked the other way. Her new ventures never stuck. Investors did their research. Clients asked too many questions. And slowly, she disappeared from the circles she once dominated. There was no final phone call. No apology that mattered. She never truly said sorry. Not for what she did, only for how it ended. But here's what I learned: when you give everything to someone who only takes, you don't just lose things. You lose yourself, your clarity, your rhythm. You start questioning your instincts, your worth, your sanity. And when it all crashes, you don't get peace until you stop trying to understand why they did it. You get peace when you accept that they did. If I could say one thing to anyone who finds themselves in my shoes, standing at the edge of betrayal, unsure whether to jump or hold on, it's this: let go. Not with rage. Not with revenge. Let go with purpose. Quiet, focused, devastating purpose. Because when someone tries to ruin you and you survive without becoming like them, you win more than the war. You win yourself back. And trust me, there's no better revenge than being everything they pretended to be. That's the story. That's the whole thing. And I wouldn't take a single piece of it back.